Welcome everybody to a bibliodrama in anticipation of Shavuot. On Shavuot, we read one of the books of the Bible, the book of Ruth, and that is what we are going to explore now with my teacher and friend, Dr. Peter Pitzele, utilizing the approach to engaging of text called bibliodrama. Bibliodrama is midrash, the Hebrew word for filling in the gaps in a story to add both a fuller story and to find personal meaning in the story. We will do this under the direction of Peter Pitzele.
Thank you, Ellie. And this is a rather special experiment that we're undertaking today. The experiment has to do with actually having players to play the roles that will emerge as we explore the story. And I want to remind you of the story, and I'm going to stop the action of the story at a certain point where there is a gap, where there is something left out that I imagine could be there. And it's this moment that we are going to explore. So I think you all know the book of Ruth, the story of a family, Elimelech, Naomi, and two sons, Hilion and Machlon, who migrate out of Bethlehem, the breadbasket of Judah, to Moab, not one of your friendly places. And they leave because there's a famine in the land of Bethlehem and Judea. And they travel to Moab, and there they settle. And the two sons each marry two Moabite women. They really marry out of their faith tradition. Orpah is one of the girls, and she marries one of the sons, and Ruth marries the other. And we learn shortly thereafter that Elimelech, the father of the family, dies. And shortly thereafter, we learn that both of these sons die, leaving Ruth and Orpah as widows. And they gather around Naomi. They're protective and concerned for this woman who's lost a husband and two sons and her homeland and is now living alone in Moab. And we read that Naomi decides she's going to go back to Bethlehem. And the two girls, Ruth and Orpah, tell her that they want to go with her. And Naomi does everything she can to dissuade them. And she succeeds in dissuading Orpah. Ruth will not be persuaded. And Ruth, facing Naomi's push away, says, "Whither thou goest, I will go. Where you lodge, I shall lodge. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." And at that point, the text goes on to find them making their way back to Bethlehem. But I imagine a gap here, because this is Naomi, a mother who's had sons and knows what it's like to be bereaved. And I believe that Naomi thinks of Ruth's mother. And she thinks, it's not right for Ruth to leave her mother without saying goodbye. So the scene that I'd like to play is a scene in which we follow Ruth from Naomi's side to her own home, where she undertakes to explain to her mother what she's planning to do. And we'll see what happens, how that plays out. whether she's able to gain her mother's acceptance or blessing, or whether her mother is too hurt or too confused or too angry to give that blessing, to give that acceptance. So I've asked my players to identify themselves when they're in role wearing something blue, that's Ruth, black, that's Mother, and when we come to her in our second scene, green for Naomi. So let me start. You are Ruth. And even though we have 3 women playing, we also have a man playing, Rabbi Spitz, and there is no reason in bibliodrama why we can't cross-dress. So it's an open question to any one of you Ruths. You turn away from Naomi and you begin to walk back to your house where you were born, where you grew up, from which you left to get married, where you were widowed. And I want to know what's on your mind as you take in the words that Naomi has said, and as you turn to go back to your mother's house. Yes, Ruth Shula.
I'm thinking of the fact that all along, my wonderful mother has always known how close and loving Machlon and I have been. That this marriage has given me, and she has seen it, the kind of happiness that one wishes for their child.
So I understand that your perspective, Ruth, is you're quite sure that your mother will understand because of,
I am not.
You're not.
I am not, because she's a mother.
Okay.
It's hard to predict, but I am going to remind her of the wonderful life she has seen me have, hoping that that will help her over this.
Thank you. Do we have another Ruth in this moment? Yes, Ruth Anna.
Yes, I think my mother will not be accepting of me leaving her. So I'm just thinking of all of the arguments that I'm going to make for why it's a good idea for me to stay away once I get there.
Ruth, what is it that makes you think your mother's not going to like this idea?
I think that my mother will see me as a widow with no prospects for surviving, and she'll think that no man will want to marry me at this point. And so I'll just be a poor woman taking care of another poor woman for the rest of my life. I'll have somebody dependent on me and I won't be able to provide.
Your mother's like, that's no life for my daughter. Goodness sakes, you've suffered so much, you've lost so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Ruth Anna. Ruth Linda.
My mother has people around her who can help her. And yet, with this famine that was in Bethlehem, we're worried about what we have in Moab. How can I stay with my mother and add to the burden of feeding? On the other hand, I can help her, but I don't think she needs another mouth. And it pains me to think that if I go with Naomi, which I really want to do, that I may never see my mother again.
So things are not so good in Moab that your mother might be able to take you on and house you and feed you. At the same time, she's not going to. She's a mother. She's going to wonder about where you're going and how it'll be for you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Ruth Elie.
So I go to my mother with the awareness that our relationship is strained. She was never happy that I married a foreigner, let alone almost an enemy of my Moab origins. And it put me at a distance from her. I understand why Naomi wants me to say goodbye, but Naomi is the first woman who I felt really accepted by for being myself. And I will go because Naomi insists to speak to my mother, but I will do so, frankly, in a very protective stance.
Protective of your own heart
Yes.
in the face of what you might meet from your mother.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want you to take off your blue scarves and put on the black scarf of the mother. And while you're doing that, I want to make sure that our viewers understand that one of the things that's fascinating about Midrash is that there are versions upon versions of stories, interpretations. We have the black fire of the text, but the white fire, which is the white fire of the Midrash, is ever renewed and has many perspectives. And so Ruth Shula spoke about a mother who had this deep affection and for her daughter and her daughter's choices. We had a completely different story when it came to the mother. So we're now following these strands that are in many ways overlapping or different levels of the same figure, but also potentially somewhat conflicting. You are Ruth's mother. And I will tell you that from your front porch, when you look out this morning, you see your daughter coming towards you. And I would just like your first reactions to the sight of your daughter coming towards you down the hill to the house. You have no name. I'm just going to call you Mother. Yes, Mother.
As I see Ruth, my heart begins, I can feel how quickly it's now beating because I love her so. And I have been at arm's length with her ever since she married that foreigner, that Hebrew, that other, who I never quite related to. I blame myself in part for the distance I have felt. I'm surprised to see her, and I just want her to know how much I love her.
Thank you. Is there another mother? Yes, Mother.
I have loved my daughter Ruth always deeply. I have seen how happy she has been with Machlon, even though I have in my heart have always had this little conflict because she married a stranger. But I wanted to never be blind to that which meant so much to her. So I am, in a way, as always, looking at her with love, with a little conflict, and with an emotional question mark as to how our interaction today will be.
It's almost like the question in your mind might be, why is she coming now? You're nodding, Anna. Why is she coming now?
Yes, I'm suspicious when I see her. She never heeded my advice before. She didn't listen to me in the biggest decision of her life. And so she would only come to me if she needed something right now. She doesn't want my advice. She just probably needs help from me. So I'm suspicious.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I see my daughter coming down the road. I know her husband died, and he was so good to her. She has no bags with her, so she's just coming to talk with me. And I don't know what to say. I too married a stranger and had a good life with him. And now I live with my children and they take care of me. I live in this tiny, tiny tent. She can sleep here, but I don't think that she would be happy with me. And I know how happy she was with Machlon. Maybe she has some other ideas.
Well, here she is, and she's not carrying anything, and I love her. I love her so much, and she's always welcome here, always. Thank you. So now I'd like you to take your scarves off that identify who you are in this moment, because now, players, we're going to play out the meeting between Ruth and her mother. We have a welcoming mother. We have a skeptical mother. We have a variety of mothers. We have a variety of Ruths. So the way I'd like to try to work this is Ruth has the first words. They greet each other, they hug, they sit down, mother makes tea, they make small talk, and then the silence falls. And the silence is a pregnant silence because there's a question in the air. Why is Ruth here? What does this mean? And Ruth, you are the first to break the silence. How do you break this silence to your mother? What do you say? And I would like one of you to be ready. I would like you to be equally ready, because whatever Ruth says, a mother will respond. And Ruth, our first Ruth, will respond to that first mother. And when that somehow comes to wherever it comes to, it may go beautifully, but it may have all kinds of challenges to it. Mother may really, really be tough in response. I don't want to make it easy on Ruth. I think there's work here between the two of them, and I'd like to see how we do that work. So, Ruth, Elie, what do you say to your mother? How do you open this conversation?
I have really missed you. You know, it's been a while since we were together. And I want you to know, as I assume you know, that my husband has died, Machlon. And to see you is to feel that I come from a place of love, but I need to talk to you about where I'm going.
Stop right there. Now, Mother, you may not speak a response at this point, but when you hear your daughter say, I know I've come from love and now I need to tell you where I'm going, what goes through your mind at that moment? Or rather, what happens inside of you when you hear your daughter say that, Mother? Mother Shula.
The word going somehow hit me like a knife. What do you mean by going? You have just come, and I'm thinking you've come. You've come home, and I'm loving you, and I'm happy. What's the going got to do with anything?
Elie, Ruth, what's Mother says to you? She actually says this, going? What's the going?
Well, you know, Mother, as is our way, when I got married, I moved in with my husband and his family. That is what happened when you got married. You moved in with Dad's family.
Feel free to interrupt at any point, Mother. Mothers interrupt their daughters all the time. Feel free to just stop her at any point. Go ahead, please, Ruth.
And so I have been living since my husband died as I was before when I was with him as part of our family unit. And as you may know, my mother-in-law, Naomi, not only lost her husband, but both of her sons, and she's going back to Bethlehem.
Yes, but that's a stranger's journey. We're not part of that. You are part of me. You are part of us. What she does or will do, that's not our way. You've come. That's what I see. That's what I feel. That's what I think is the right order of things.
And I see you as Mother Anna nodding. Like, what do you want to say to that? How do you want to put your voice in?
Yeah, I think your obligation to that family has ended. Now that your husband has died, you belong with our family. You're obligated to our family. You don't have any promise that you have to keep to his mother. So now you just need to come back home.
Thank you. Let me just put this on pause for a moment and acknowledge where we are. We have a loving Ruth. We have a loving mother. We have a mother who does not understand what could motivate her daughter to take this step. There's something missing. I mean, mother, she's got two mothers, and you, mother, are her biological mother. You're home. And yet she's coming to go somewhere. And the question is, what is it? So how would you put that question to your daughter? How would you try to get more understanding of the why? What would you say to her? Mother Linda, or are you Ruth? I can't tell.
Linda, Mother.
Okay, Mother.
How can you leave me?
Okay.
Me. You're a Moabite. He was a fine man, but he was a stranger.
So let me pause you. The question is, how can you leave me? Now, that's the kind of question people ask. How can you do this to me? It's not really a question, but it is really a question. How can you leave me? Why can you leave me? And that's your challenge, Ruth. How are you going to answer that question? And those of you who are watching, take that question. You're Ruth, you who are watching this. We don't have a right answer. We only know that Ruth is challenged to really explain to her mother from her deepest place why she's making this choice. So you are Ruth. And Elie, I want you to invite you to be mother. I want you to take mother as we've developed her. This mother who is saying, wow, how can you do this to me? And why are you doing this? So you are the mother now, and you're going to hear the various ways that Ruth accounts for herself. And let's see what touches you, if anything. Ruth, how can you do this to me? Elie, would you give that line? Just say that line. Ruth, how can you do this to me?
My daughter, how can you do this to me?
Thank you.
Mother, please understand, I love you no less today than I ever did. And I am not doing this to you. I am doing something that my marriage to Machlon has done for me. We became one. That's marriage.
I'm gonna be the mother. I'm gonna step in as mother, black mother. I don't get it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. That's not the way marriages work. You don't have no obligation. Sorry, that doesn't fly. Anna, as Ruth.
I love my mother-in-law. She's a piece of my husband who's gone. She reminds me of him, and if I don't go with her, she might not survive. You have a whole community and family supporting you, but she has nothing now. She's lost her whole family. She just has me. So it's my responsibility, including my love, but it's my responsibility to take care of her.
And Mother, what do you say to that? How does that land on you?
Just leaves me sad. You know, I've loved you, my daughter. You went away. I always hoped you would come back. And now you're telling me that your marriage leads you away from me in a far longer trajectory. I just am crushed.
Thank you. Thank you. Ruth, Linda, yes. How do you address your mother?
Mother, I want to be here. I want to be with you. But I know if I stay, you will just marry me off to the man you wanted me to marry before, a Moabite man. And that's not my future. My future, my heart will always be with Naomi.
And Mother, how does that land on you? You know, I know what it would be like if I stayed here, but the fact is that my heart belongs to Naomi, and I can't explain my heart except to tell you the truth of my heart.
Hearing that opens my heart, because I know that love is mystery. I never understood rationally why Ruth would step away, but I know and accepted on some level her love for Machlon. And on some level, I'm proud of her in making this request. It's enormous loss for me, but I am proud that my daughter has that quality of love both for her husband and by extension for his mother. I'm also by extension feeling that I did well to create a daughter of such character.
Well, it sounds to me like, Mother, you are in a position to give your daughter your blessing.
Yes.
What is your blessing to your daughter? How would you put it?
My beloved daughter, may the source of all life give you a memory of the love that I have always felt for you. And wherever you go, may my love go with you, and may you prosper in all you seek to do.
And Ruth, what is your blessing to your mother? Yes.
Mother, I could not imagine a more beautiful and welcome blessing than the one you just gave me. So in return, my blessing is one of gratitude. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for raising me to understand that which makes life have meaning, that which gives the heart its core, that which allows me to know that true, real love is the best guide and the most valued path that I can follow. So thank you, Mother.
Wow. I think that that's good enough. That's as much as one could wish. And I hadn't imagined this, but I want you to put on the green scarf of Naomi. And Naomi, you have waited. You have waited for Ruth, perhaps confident that she would come back, but perhaps not so sure that she would come back, but you've waited. And you see Ruth coming up the hill from her little house, walking towards you. And I'd like you to describe, initially, just describe for me, how is she walking? If her walk could tell a story, what is her walk telling you? Naomi Linda, what is her walk telling you?
She walks so purposely, slowly, but purposely. And I can't see her face yet. She seems to have a determined walk, and yet it's a little sad. She's coming back, and I don't know what she's going to tell me.
And Mother Linda, Anna, what did you see in her walk?
I see sadness, but also bravery. I see that she's trying to keep her head up, even though it looks like it's hard right now for her, but she's trying to have purpose and keep moving and be sure of her decision as she walks towards me.
Walks towards me. It's not like looks like she's got something terrible to tell me at all. It looks like she's pensive, but strong. And if I were to create the little film of this moment, I imagine that they embrace. And I imagine that there are tears. Thank you very much. Yeah, this seems like such a lovely place to wrap it up. I think there are many other things that one feels are implicit in this moment, but this is the turning point. This is what it takes, perhaps, for the next step, which we know from reading the book of Ruth, leads on to return, a marriage, a child, a prophetic, kingly future, comes from this kind of moment when there's this level of blessing and this level of truth. So I want you to take off your scarves, and I want to give you a moment before Rabbi Spitz and I reflect on this as our Shavuot text, just to invite you in your own, as Anna, as Linda, as Shula, as Elie, anything that you felt or saw in this story that might have touched you personally, or that just made you feel a certain way about what we were doing. We would welcome hearing a few sentences before we move on. Shula. Thank you so much, Shula. You did a very hard job. You had to take this mother, you had to turn her into, it was very good. You were excellent.
But thank you. I have to tell you that before today's experience, I never gave that much thought to Ruth's biological mother, because she's not much of a mention in the story. And so by making us delve into her today, that gave me a wonderful insight into two mothers and their experiences of a particular event. You know, one who is losing in a way and one who is gaining, and that both of them are good, nice, deep feeling moms doing their jobs, have done their jobs for their children, and both are being kind of needing to react to what they're handed.
Yeah. You know, Shula, you're helping me to remember that very often the Ruth story is a convert's story. You know, it has that place in our tradition. And there is a mother in the convert story. There are two mothers, there are two families. There's this decision. Bringing this hidden mother forward helps us to be compassionate towards those mothers and fathers who see their child make a choice that can be very difficult to understand. And as you put it, you know, it's the mystery of the heart. It's the mystery of love. And in the end, that's so much what it's about. Anna, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, it's just so funny doing this with my parents,
Oh,
because
boy.
I live in New York and I'm about to get married, and it's very real. And this just makes me feel like doing the opposite of Ruth and makes me want to go home. Having acted out these conversations, it would be so hard for me to rationalize Ruth's decision to leave her family forever.
Through what you're saying, Anna, that Ruth probably never more wanted to go home than when she receives her mother's blessing. It's like, wow, it must be something else that is moving Ruth. And my own supposition is that Ruth has a secret sense of her destiny. And that there is something in Ruth that she only discovers in the course of this strange living that she's doing. But that part of what she may say to her mother is, you know, Mom, I don't exactly know why I'm doing this. I just feel like I must. I feel something is leading me, something is urging me that I have to, it's Lech Lecha all over again. You know, I'm bidden. It's not just that I'm attached to Naomi as a person, but there's something bigger here and I just don't know what it is. And Mom, I'm scared. I'm really scared. I'd love to come home. You know, I'd love to be a child again, but I don't feel that that's where I'm going right now, or that I should. Yeah, but it's a great story. It's one of the greatest love stories I ever read. Linda?
You know, as someone who lost my mom last year,
Oh my.
this brought out how much a mother-daughter relationship changes, and it's nuanced, and how much goes, like in the story, unsaid.
Well, I'm going to invite you to step back. You can actually darken your screens. You know, you can turn off your videos just so that Elie and I will sort of step forward in our way and just offer a conclusion. But thank you so much, Shula and Anna and Linda and Elie, for your playing. And Elie, now you're Elie, Rabbi Elie, but you had a foot in that, and come back to us through the way in which self emerged from story.
So the first thought that I have in experiencing Ruth and her mother and her mother-in-law is the challenge of choice. How challenging it is to know and to act. And in this case, each of the roles was a role of choice making. And I'm just sitting with how, as people, as humans, we have this enormous possibility of choice. And that in this case, the choice plays out to fulfill a destiny. And it's a destiny that gets understood only from hindsight. That we
Yes.
live life with making choices. And in this case, choices that are full-bodied, of the heart and the mind and of the legs.
That's beautiful. Well, I'm always moved by this story, and I was very aware that it was a family story being played out with a family, and I very much appreciate your insight about choice, because it does feel like, and I wonder, is choice, did the rabbis make a choice to have Ruth be a text for Shavuot? And if they made that choice, which clearly somebody did, what were they wanting us to see in the book of Ruth for Shavuot, do you suppose?
Well, the classic explanation of the rabbis who choose it already in the Talmud to be read on Shavuot is that it is about the choosing of Torah, ultimately at Mount Sinai, which is what we're celebrating, in which the people say, in which God says, first of all, will you be my people? That's all of chapter 19. And then chapter 20 is God speaking with the Ten Commandments. But right after that drama of the invitation of covenant, the people say, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do it, we will learn it, we will obey it. And there's that sense of choosing, that God has a chosen people, Am Segula, a precious relationship that God seeks to cultivate, and that the people willingly, willfully accept. Now, there is, by the way, another midrash.
No, don't go there.
All right.
Let's just, in the interest of time, and I think one of the things that resonated for me in just what you said, Ellie, is this word covenant,
Yeah.
which we take to be this sort of sacred relationship between God and his people.
Yeah.
But the covenant also just means the relationship that a man and a woman make to one another.
Yeah.
I mean, covenant is the vow.
Right.
And what Ruth says to Naomi is a vow.
Yes.
And a vow is a very special thing that human beings do with their words and their breath and their hearts.
Right.
And we looked at a vow story. We looked at the heart of the vow on the most intimate and personal level, but it's also on the great level as well.
And a vow is distinctively different than a contract.
Indeed.
When a husband and a wife under chuppah in a Jewish context say, will you be my ezer kenegdo, my helpmate? They're entering into a commitment of fidelity, of growth, of living life intertwined, which is very different than the arm's length, what am I agreeing to, which is the power of na'aseh v'nishma. We will do it, the rabbis will explain, and then you'll tell us what it is we've agreed to. It's a vow of commitment to intertwine life and love. And that's the Naomi and Ruth story too. Her destiny will be fulfilled, but it's what she says to Naomi, what Ruth says is, your people will be my people, your God will be my God, I will go with you, not yet knowing what the details are. And to make commitments, to make vows, is the celebration of Shavuot. It's a holiday that celebrates the receiving of relationship, knowing that the details will yet unfold.
Well, once again, my dear friend and my teacher, what a joy it is to be doing this with you, to learn with you, to discover with you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, one closing word, and that is, I want to thank Anna and Linda and Shula for being partners. Each of them, to some degree, I chose. And I chose Anna because I wanted a younger voice. But I also wanted Anna to know what it is to engage in a bibliodrama with you, Peter.
Oh,
And for Linda and for me to be with Anna, exploring the challenges of decision making, and to do so in the presence and the partnership of Shula and you is an added blessing. Peter, you're always a blessing to me. Thank you.
you're welcome. God bless.